we're back in the Gospels. I had to hit the John one first yesterday, but we have another good example I really like. We have the woman at the well, and now we have another side of the spectrum of people that God is seeking. In Luke chapter 19, the short man up in the tree named Zacchaeus, who's a tax collector, right? He's a swindler of the people, most likely very corrupt. Would have been probably a Jewish person, but he kind of turned his back. That's an insinuation you get from these texts. He turned his back on his own people for the sake of profit. Sure, I'll bow down to Rome and line my pockets for it, and what's the word I'm looking for? Mess up my own, mess over? I don't know. My own people, as long as I can get a cut of it. So he's not very well liked. And yet, this despicable traitor, slanderer, man of no seeming value besides money, corrupt, that's who Jesus seeks out for the kingdom. In fact, I hear it at the end of the story, right? He tells Zacchaeus come down from the tree. And how does Zacchaeus respond to this good news? Right? Zacchaeus stood in verse 8, stood there and said to the Lord, "Look, half of my possessions, Lord, I'll give the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay them back 4 times as much." He's touched by God's grace. That's what's happening here. Zacchaeus is touched that God sought him out. He was actively hiding, kind of like Adam and Eve, right? He was actively hiding away. He was ashamed. He didn't think he could change, but God sought him out. God brought him an opportunity for change, right? We've talked a couple weeks ago now. God gives us opportunity in our lives. Opportunities to be generous, opportunities to serve, opportunities to share the grace of Christ, right? God gives us opportunities. And here, Jesus has done just that with Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus responds. God's grace resonates with people. And Jesus says in verse 9, today, not someday, not the end of time, today, salvation has come to this house. Because he too is the son of Abraham. Jesus is bringing him back into the fold. It's claiming him. Kind of like that lost sheep, right? And there's other stories of that, of course. Jesus is bringing Zacchaeus back in because he has been sought out. For the Son of Man came to seek out, there it is again, seek out and to save the lost. The Son of Man came to seek out and save the lost. I mean, there it is, right? That's our theme for the week. It's pretty easy. Jesus says it again. And again, Jesus is doing it. Forget what everyone else says. Forget what we're supposed to do. God is doing what God has stated and has lived and has always delivered as. Seeking the lost. Reaching out in grace. Sharing the grace of Christ, right? Being generous. Being the church, if you want to go back to that. Yeah, I really like the theme, you couldn't tell. This story, and all the ones so far, are emblematic that God is hell-bent on seeking out the lost. And so I love when people, as an aside real quick, you're like, I don't know how we're going to grow. I don't know how we're going to reach more people. I think God has a pretty good track record. I think we need to be following Christ. Doing what Christ does. Reaching up in the trees. Right? Reaching out to those hiding in the shrubberies in the world, if you will. Metaphorically speaking. I mean, maybe literally, but reaching out. Not to condemn, but to save. Going to those wells and meeting places. And you know what? We got more examples. We're going to keep building on this, so stick with us. And thanks for being with us here today.